Hi, it's David Harris, today on the Waypoint. I'll cover the basic steps of getting started in federal contracting. I'm talking about steps that seem so small, some people overlook them to their demise. Things like developing a target agency list, reviewing agency spend plans, making cold calls, and setting boundaries. Meet me at the Waypoint to hear how it should go down. Today, we'll look into breaking into federal contracting. There's no perfect way to do it. Everyone has their own experience. I'm going to share what's worked for me and what hasn't. Let's get to it. Number one, develop a target agency list. It should have no more than 5 federal agencies. This helps to target your company's strengths and stop the urge to be all things to all people. Number two, review their spend plan for the next year or two. This is called the Procurement Forecast and is usually found on the agency's website. It lets you know how much the agency is going to spend and in what areas they need assistance. If their need is not in your wheelhouse, choose 5 more agencies. Keep going until you have 5 agencies that fit your company's capabilities. Number 3, don't be afraid to cold call the agency and get to know their procurement officer or program office. The fear of rejection stops a lot of people from picking up the phone. That's how opportunities are missed. Another tactic is to call the incumbent and sell your company as a partner. Can your company help them keep the contract or expand services? One should ask themselves. Number 4, set left and right boundaries before going after contracts. This means determining the maximum number of employees you can sustain and the minimum number of contracts it'll take to keep your business going. These boundaries are critical to your company's survival, especially in the startup phase. I know everyone is hungry for that big contract with lots of employees. However, you must ask yourself, how much can you float the government before you get paid? They won't pay you within 30 days oftentimes, and sometimes not even 60 days. How many employees can you sustain while waiting for the government to pay you? If you determine that you can sustain or break even after considering all these factors and more, then perhaps that contract is a viable option. A lot of startups tank because they pursue growth and forget about sustainability. Now let's talk about a factor that has hit home for me and has caused me to do some deep soul searching. So, what am I doing deep soul searching on? It's the cancellations of procurements that the government has, for some reason become more and more prevalent. See, small businesses spend a lot of money on business development, resourcing, or sourcing for candidates to support an effort. The process generally starts with a solicitation. We're not going to talk about what happens before, but let's just start with the solicitation. A company or companies look at that solicitation, review it as a viable option, and they start the proposal process. Once they've completed that proposal process, they then submit that proposal. Well, throughout that process, they've done pricing, they've utilized internal resources to write the technical proposal, write the past performance, teamed with other companies, and you've spent a lot of internal dollars on this one procurement, just to find out that 2 weeks before it's supposed to be awarded, or at some point in time during the evaluation phase, it gets canceled. Trust me, this has happened to ADV at least 8 times this past procurement season. So we have to ask ourselves, when we request information from the government, why don't they give it to us when we have to give a whole lot of information to them? For example, when we ask contracting officers, why did the solicitation get canceled? Why did the procurement go into a black hole? They don't have to give you the full answer. That's a problem. We need to look at the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and see how we can update it, bring it up to speed. A lot of FAR clauses are antiquated, and they do a good job of updating. But I think this is an area which needs a lot of improvement, because you spend a lot of money to go after work and get no response in the end. Well, we've come to the end of our time. Next week, we'll talk about prime versus sub. Meanwhile, send your questions to the Waypoint at Advanced VLLC, and I'll answer them next time on the Waypoint. Click the link below, and I look forward to seeing you here in the future.